Welcome to Stamp with Teah. I'm Teah Woodward, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. I'm located in Vancouver, Washington in the United States, and I'm super excited to be here today. I love the stamp set that I'm going to share with you today, or the bundle that I'm going to share with you today, Cottage Wreaths. But before I get started, I'm just going to go over a couple of things super quick. We're nearing the end of the month, and with that end of the month, there are a couple of promotions that are ending. So the September weekly deals, so you may have seen this graphic on my social media, that ends on September 28th. So September 28th, last day to get in on the some discounts that they've been offering on a weekly basis. So that is that day after tomorrow, I think, pretty sure. And then on the 30th, the Perfect Partners promotion ends. And Perfect Partners is where they had 6 stamp sets that previously didn't have dies. They created dies to go with those stamp sets, but they were only available during the month of September. I demonstrated trimming the tree, I think that was last Monday, a week ago today. Anyway, the stamp sets that that they made these coordinating dies for were the Apple Harvest, Fresh Cut Flowers, the Birthday Piggy, Trimming the Tree, Waterfall Canyon, and Yeti to Party. So if you had your heart set on those, or you've been thinking about that, and or you already had the stamp set and you just need the dies, you can do that too. Go to stampinup.com, go to, I'm pretty sure these are listed under new. Yes, these are listed under new. And then look for Perfect Partners. So those 2 promotions are ending. Quick. On October 1st is World Card Making Day, and I've got 2 different events to tell you about. There's all different kinds of events that are taking place, but Stampin' Up! Is holding one that is a free virtual event. You have to register, but it doesn't cost you anything. I think they like you to register so that you can get updated information if something, like if something goes wrong with the website or something like that. I think that's why you're registering, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, but they do want you to register. So you just go to stampinup.com. It's in the banner across the top of the page. You click on that. Woo, excuse me. You click on that and it takes you to where you need to go in order to register. They are doing, wow, got a tickle. 3 different projects. They're using Cottage Rose. They're using Cottage Wreaths, which I'm using today. And then they're using a stamp set that is an early release. I think this is an early release for the January through June mini catalog. It's called Warm Welcome. So that's what they're doing. Then I'm participating in another World Card Making Day. You've seen me post information about this on my social media. So the graphic looks like this. And the group that I am participating with, it's about diversity. It's all different kinds of diversity. So it could be about adoption. It could be about, my brain just went completely blank. I can tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing it on the culture of quilting. So that's what my demonstration will be about. So I'm making a card that looks like a quilt, and I will talk just a little bit. My demonstration is only running about 18 minutes, but I will talk about the culture of quilting. Anyway, and making some cards and showing you some cards that are all surrounding that idea. So that is a link that you can find on my social media or in my newsletter. And I think you do have to join the page in order to see it. I think there's 29 presenters, so it's like a 24-hour event. Hope you'll join us. Either way, both of these are really great events. I'm sure, I can't say that I've read this, but I can't imagine that Stampin' Up! Wouldn't have those be recorded videos. I can tell you that the one that I'm participating in, all of them are pre-recorded. They will be made public on YouTube after the event. They're private until the event, so that we can hopefully keep people watching throughout the day. But then after the event, then they will go public. So if you miss it on that day, if you miss it on Saturday, October 1st, you will be able to catch it later on. All right, that's all I have to tell you about. Let's get to making some cards. These are fun and they're quick. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn my camera down real quick. And here are the two cards that I'm making today. Let's see. Make sure I've got that nice and solid in my holder here. Kind of straighten it out a little bit. So here is my host code through the end of September. Oh, what I forgot to tell you about is that I have, okay, I need to step around this table for just a second. Sorry about that. What I forgot to tell you was that through the end of September, I'm running a special. If you place an order of $35 or more, I will mail you one of 3 items. And what I had to go around the table to get was were those 3 items. You have your choice of a pack of either the Bedazzling 6x6 specialty paper, or the Silver and Gold specialty paper, or, so those are whole packs, or a half a pack of the Peaceful Prints. And there's 2 of each 6 by 12 inch sheets. There's 2 each of the prints. This is a double-sided pack. So anyway, so you have your choice: Bedazzled, Silver and Gold, Peaceful Prints, $35 or more. If you bump that up to a $50 order, I'll also send you a PDF tutorial bundle of 34 projects. Excuse me. So, just wanted to let you know about all of that. Now let me get this all back out of my way. Ta-da! Okay. So, 2 cards today. So this one is super fun. I love the wood grain embossing that's on the back side here. I'm going to use sponge daubers to create this 3-color effect and show you, I'm just going to show you how to make this. And then this card, I'm pulling it up close, I used the musical notes folder. I'm now trying to remember what the actual name of that is, but it's our embossing folder that has musical notes, showing you how to make this wreath, because it's all stamping. Oh, and I didn't decorate the inside of this one, but I know I have stuff prepared over here to do that. So we're going to start with this card today. And I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm getting all froggy. All right. So this is what Cottage Wreaths looks like. It's got 5 sentiments: hello, grateful, boo, Merry Christmas, and some people just make life better. We have what appears to be just 2 wreaths, but you may notice we've got leaves here. We've got fir branches here. We've got bigger leaves here. We have holly, we have berries, we have acorns, we have a bow. So there's really quite the builder here to make some wreaths. Then, doggone it, I have not coughed all day. No idea. I'm probably holding my breath while I'm talking. So then we have these dies. And these layer together nicely to make a wreath. Doggone it. You know what? I have a cough drop right here, and I'm just going to grab that. We have some detail dies here with leaves and a bow and these wreaths. Then we have all of the rest of these two leaves. Oh, excuse me, these are a detail die as well. Then we have bows and holly and all different kinds of stuff here that cuts out stamped images. You are going to see me cutting out stamped images today. But I have a sample using these to show you as well. I'm just not demoing it today. All right. I'm using the great big grid paper because I'm going to do some stamping off. I'm going to start with a card base that is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that now, because one of the very first things I'm going to do is adhere. I should put that so you can see it. As I'm going to adhere that designer series paper to the front of the card, and it takes up the whole card front. There's two sides to this print. Oh, that's what I didn't tell you about. Reaching over and grabbing the designer series paper. So this designer series paper that coordinates with this collection is called Gingham Cottage. It's 12 by 12 sheets. These happen to be cut in 6 by 12 sheets. As I always recommend, go to stampinup.com, type in Gingham Cottage in the search menu. It will bring up this designer series paper, and you can click through and look at these individually so that you can actually see what they look like. But I am showing you what you see here. This is just one side of the paper. Then, see if I can flip this over kind of sort of in a fan. And then there's the other side. So there is tons here to work with. Today I'm working with just 2 of them. So now I'm going to take, see there's the smaller, and it would have been pretty on here too, but I really liked this more bold and more saturated color. And I don't very often use designer series paper on my entire card front, but I liked it on this one. I'm a little bit klutzy. If you were with me last Thursday, you know I broke my finger, and I've been wearing a brace, but I started developing a blister where my finger joins my hand from the brace. So today I am taking a break from the brace and really praying that I don't hit the finger too often, because it is still pretty tender. I got lucky. It was a clean break. Just snapped off the tip. Lucky, quote unquote. All right, so I'm adhered down, and it's all nice and flush with the edges. I've already cut and embossed the next layer. The size, oh, and all of the dimensions will be posted on my blog. So if you don't catch it when I state it now, or if I forget to tell you, it will be written down. This is 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I used the Timber 3D embossing folder to create this gorgeous wood grain. Now, I'm going to do something that is horrifying to some people and not to others. I'm going to flick the tip of my blending brush and just get a little bit of spatter on here. If that feels like abuse to your pens, don't do it. I don't have a problem replacing my pens, and I don't do a lot of spattering, but occasionally I do go through a period where I do more than I do of other times. That's all I'm doing. Just a little bit. Can you see that? Just a little bit. So now I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. And because sometimes, it doesn't look like it happened too badly this time, but sometimes this edge with this particular embossing folder, this gets a little bit ruffly. So what I have taken to doing is using my borders from my dimensionals. So after I've used up my dimensional, yeah, I see I've got 2 left on here. I'll go in and I will use that frame to create a nice solid edge. So if you ever have an embossing folder that does that, let's see, make sure I'm doing this to the correct side. Yeah, this is the back. Then that is something that you can do. Just use a nice straight edge of dimensional, and it'll just straighten everything, flatten everything right back out. This next Thursday, I normally do a YouTube Live. It will not be this week. For one thing, I will have the World Card Making Day video that you'll be able to see on Saturday. Then my husband and I will actually be out of town for our last boat race event of the year. That is one of our hobbies together as a couple, is boat racing, hydroplanes, vintage class. My husband does drive, and I pit crew. He pit crews as well. We belong to several teams, but his brother has relocated to the Pacific Northwest, and now his boat is here to play with as well. So we will be with family this weekend. All right, so a little bit more involved on the dimensionals than what I normally do, just because I didn't want that edge to ruffle. Normally I use my Take Your Pick tool to do this, but I noticed that I really pivot that tool off of the finger that I have that is now broken. So I'm doing things just a little bit different than usual. I will be back to normal in no time, I am sure. There we go. Make sure my card is opening the correct direction. And I'm just centering. I'm used to this finger being part of my stabilization, and I don't have it. There we go. I think that's pretty straight. I'm just gonna make myself live with that. Get some of those backers out of the way. Okay, so now this is the good stuff. Now we're gonna get into the fun stuff. I'm going to bring over, and I am going to use my Stampin' Pearson mat. Get a few things out of the way. There we go. All right. I am going to use these branches to stamp the branches. I'm going to show you a technique so you can see the branches through the leaves, right? So I'm going to show you my way of doing that I was quite happy with the end result. So I'm going to stamp off once, stamp off twice, and stamp off, or stamp with those first two layers of ink removed. And see how light that is? You can still see it quite well. So stamped off once, stamped off twice, and then this is my third layer of ink. Then I'm going to clean this off using my Simply Chamois because I need this block for my leaves. This is where it gets fun. I love getting inky. You should have seen my hands earlier. They were just coated in ink, and they will be again before the end of this video. I am going to stamp, or no, I am going to ink up. Actually, I'm going to open all of these up. I've got Mango Melody, Pumpkin Pie, and Cajun Craze are my ink colors. I'm going to stamp the whole ink, or the whole stamp with Mango Melody. So you can see the ink on there. I am going to use a sponge dauber. Like I said, I'm being very klutzy. Normally I put my sponge dauber on my middle finger, can't do it. So pumpkin pie and a sponge dauber. And I'm gonna go out, in, out, in, out, in, and I'm going to call that good. I'm probably going to touch that up a little bit more. Then I'm going to take another sponge dauber. So I'm going to show that to you. Can you see the ink that's showing up on there? And you're probably thinking, isn't that ink drying? Yep, it sure is, but I'm going to reactivate the ink shortly. So now I'm taking my Cajun Craze and a sponge dauber, and I'm doing the opposite of what I did with the pumpkin pie. So I'm just kind of filling in some blank spots. Let's see. It does not have to be exact. Autumn leaves are not exact, are they? Let's see. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to huff on this with my breath. And my breath will have just enough moisture in it to reactivate this ink. And stamping right over those branches. And look at how gorgeous that turned out. Isn't that pretty? Ugh, I'm just in love with that technique. Cleaned off my stamp and putting it back just for the next stamp, or the next card I'll be using the branch again. But I won't be using the leaves. Okay, setting that over here. Closing all of these up so that I don't make a mess. I'm not putting them away though, because I will be using them again. Just realized I'm missing my, did I pick up my pre-cut? I sure did. I'm gonna have to cut one of my others to make a liner size. Okay, going to take my dies, and I totally forgot to mark this, so I'm gonna have to turn this around for a second until I hit the right spot. Let's see if I can tell. Sometimes there is enough of something that you can tell ahead of time. Is that it? I do think that might have been it, but here we go. All right, I found it. So now I am going to, so two things. I learned something this weekend, and then I totally failed to prepare it so that I could show you today. Do you see where there's this little mark right here? When this stamp is on here correctly, completely lining up with the image, if you take a little black Sharpie and mark the edge of your stamp, that mark aligns with this little tab that's on this die, and then you won't have to search like I just had to search. Same thing with this one. I don't have this in the right location at the moment. Let's see, is that it? I think that might be it right there. See that little mark? If I were to use a black Sharpie and just make a little mark on the edge of my stamp, then I would be able to line it up. But I didn't do that. Grabbing my Post-it tape to hold my die in place. Lining it up the best I can. And then I'm not going to bring my cut and emboss machine over. I'm just going to take this over there and run it through. So you see the middle already has fallen away. So I don't know where you all live, but here in the United States, in Vancouver, Washington today, it was gorgeous. The golden sunlight was just absolute perfection. I love autumn because of the color of the sun. All right, look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that pretty? So you can totally still see the branches. You still get that weathered effect, but it's just not popping because we stamped off twice. All right. We need to do this. We need to stamp and cut this. Some people just make life better. So I'm going to do that using the Early Espresso. Going to stamp that right here. Going to close that up. The die that I'm using to cut out this sentiment is really tight fit, but it totally works. And this is from the Stylish Shapes dies. So you just line that up, tape that in place, But through the magic of TV, I have already stamped and die cut, so I'm ready to go. And set these aside. Love these dies. These are just such a perfect item to have in your toolbox. The front of this card is almost done. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this wreath. Looks like I need to open a new pack. So I'm just going to put, I think I put 5 on the last one. Making sure that your dimensionals don't fall out into that cutaway area. I love this wreath so much. Yeah, the brace on the finger is really much better to use than a Band-Aid, but started getting a nasty little blister. So I had to modify. All right, I am going to put my wreath right here in the center. I'm going to lower it just a little and give that a small pivot. I know I'm overanalyzing. Going to put a couple dimensionals on the back of my sentiment. I just hit that. Ugh. I love it when a banner hangs over the edge. I'm just kind of funny that way, and I've been that way for a long time. Okay, now these out of the way. I'm going to tie a bow with this mess right here, but I'm going to show you how I came up with that mess. I started with the threaded twine, and this threaded twine is really heavy. It's very quite rope-like. I mean, look at it in comparison to, it's wider than my wedding band. So what I did is I cut a length of that, and I splayed this apart, and I started using the, I started pulling out these threads. Now, I want to show you the difference between this twine. See, it's got those little fibery rope-like hairs, so it looks more rustic. This is the linen thread. So normally I think of this as rustic, but this is actually quite a bit more polished than the twine. And then there's the baker's twine, and then that's more cotton-like. So I just wanted to show you that comparison. So I'm going to take, I'm not going to use the silver thread that's in there. I am going to take 3 of the strands. 2 would probably be fine, but tie myself a bow.
pull on those ends and even up the loops. Tighten that back up again because they always get a little loose when you move them around. And I think that looks like about the right size of bow. Maybe just a hair smaller. And then cut those off. Whoops. Fling it down. I am going to cut these at slightly different lengths. They don't quite hang right if they're all exactly the same length. They don't have to be much different, just a little bit. Oh, I actually think I got those two different. Well, those are completely different. Let me fix that a little bit. All right. Use a mini glue dot to attach that to the center of the wreath, center top of the wreath. Okay, can't do that. You have no idea how much you use a finger until you don't have it. Did you notice I wasn't wearing my hair down today? Yep, I am missing my finger. Let's see. I think that's about center. All right, then, let's see. I am going to use these are called adhesive-backed seasonal sequins. There are 4 colors in here. There is an iridescent white, an iridescent green, iridescent red, and then gold. I'm going to use the gold. I just haven't transferred, I just opened these today. I haven't transferred them into a easier package yet. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm going to grab one of the big sequins and plunk it down right here and grab a couple of the little sequins. And the front of our card is done. Now I haven't done the inside yet though. So I need to trim another piece of paper because I accidentally used the piece that was supposed to, my message liner. So let me trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. There we go. Then I am going to do the same process that I did for the wreath. I'm going to do for some leaves on the inside. So I am using this is a stamp right here. See these 3 leaves? That's what I'm using. So I'm going to stamp with the Mango Melody. Then I'm going to take my pumpkin pie. Oh, and hopefully not hit anything that matters. And just hit it a couple of times. Take my Cajun, doggone it, Cajun craze, really clumsy without this finger. And I'm just hitting the center. It's going to hit all 3. Then, let's see, I'm looking in the, I really hope that you were able to see what I was doing. If not, you'll see, I will be doing it 3 more times. So stamping those leaves down here in that corner. Mango Melody. Pumpkin Pie. Cajun Craze. And so I did 2 sets of leaves in the lower left corner. Then Mango Melody, Pumpkin Pie, Cajun Craze, and then I'm going to have one more set coming down off of this corner here, and then we'll be done stamping the inside. Mango Melody, Pumpkin Pie, say it along with me. And Cajun Craze. Ta-da! That's our message liner. All I have to do now is adhere it to the inside of the card. Clean off this stamp, because I will be using that block for another card, or the next card. Close these up. Do you like that? Do you like the look of those leaves? Didn't they turn out pretty? I love them. But this is one of my absolute most favorite times of the year. I love every single season very much so, but there is something about the golden colors that warm my heart. And so just going to adhere this on the inside. Some people just make life better. Isn't that a lovely card? I just think that's beautiful. Okay, we are ready to set up for our next card. Let me get a couple things out of the way. Pull over a few things that I'll need. Switch out a couple of stamps. I won't need the leaves, but I will need the fir branches. I've already got the branches for the wreath here. I've already got my Christmas sentiment right there. And I think that was it. I think that's all I needed to do. I can put this stamp away, I guess. All right. On to card number 2. So I was thinking, just as I was waiting for the camera to go live, this really would have been quite pretty if I would have used garden green to matte this red. You know, I could still do that. I happen to have a piece right here that I could cut pretty quickly. Oh my gosh, it looks like it's already the right height. So let me take a quick measurement. So it looks like it is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Grab out my handy dandy paper cutter. I just think this is going to make this card pop just a little bit more by doing this. I think I better double check my measurements because I spoke after okay, 3 1/4 by 4 1/2, right? 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So I guess I better check this is really 4 1/2. It is. 3 1/4. And there's just a hair extra on here that I needed to take off. Got that off. All right. Yeah, how do you like that? I'm changing gears mid-project. Actually, I haven't started it. So this one, I'm doing a little bit different. So we have dies to cut out the branches or to cut out the leaves, but we don't really have a die that would cut out. I actually didn't try. I guess I could have tried cutting this out around the bare branches and then stamping the fir bows, but what I ended up doing was stamping on a circle. And I'm going to show you how I did that. So the circle came from the layering circle dies. This is half of the set. The other half coordinates with this and has scallops on it. I used the second to largest plain die for this circle. I mentioned to you that I used the musical notes embossing folder. So there it is there. Same card base dimensions as we had last time. We had 4 1/4 by 11 1/2, or by 11, scored at 5 1/2. I'm just going to go ahead and burnish that real quick, even though this one doesn't have the same kind of designer series paper on the front that the other one did. See, we can take this from the red on red to the red on green, and I think that's going to be pretty. I'm not going to second guess myself. I've made a decision. I'm going to stick with it. All right. So on the last card, I used Early Espresso to stamp the branches. This time, I'm going to use Garden Green. And I'm not going to stamp off. I'm going to keep it solid, 100% color. I am going to do my best without a finger to center this on the circle. Ta-da! Doesn't look like much yet, does it? It will. Just a little bit apprehensive about how well I'm going to line. Oh, don't close your green yet. How well I'm going to line this up with it sitting away from me under the camera, but we're going to give this our best fight and try here. So at the base, you see at the base of these fir bows, there's a branch tip. What I'm doing is I'm lining up that tip on the inner middle branch, and I'm lining up the fir bows or branches on some of these branches. So let's see how well I can do this. You can already see it taking form. My hand is creating a shadow. You like it? I think it's beautiful. Okay, so now we have our branches all the way around the outside. Now I want to add a couple to the inside, and how I am going to do that is I'm going to clean this off using my chamois. I'm going to dry it off using my grid paper, and then I am going to, see if you can see this, I am just going to ink up the big fir branch. And I'm not going to do the little one. And then I'm just going to come in here and just stamp that right over those, those inner branches. And I'm just going to keep repeating that. Being real careful. Oh, now see, I've gotten that dirty. So I'm going to clean this off. I mean, I shouldn't, it wasn't dirty, it was, I accidentally got ink on it beyond where I wanted it to have ink. Just a couple more to do here, and then I'll see if I think I need to fill in anything. I love getting my hands all inky. All right, so now I see a couple of bare-ish spots, but you know what? I don't think I need to do anything because I'm gonna have a bow. I'm going to have some red berries. I'm going to have the word Merry Christmas on here. So I really think that if I have this positioned just about like that, I'm going to be okay. So I'm not going to do any more. I'm going to set that aside, close up my green. For now, I'm going to use it again on the inside. Oh, that's what I didn't grab out, were the berries. Berries, berries. Hopefully I don't make a mess of this. So I know that my Merry Christmas is going to sit right here, so I'm going to go ahead and set one set of berries here. So I'm stamping them, and then I'm going to put gems on top of them. And that should be plenty. I'm going to go ahead and leave the berries and the fir branches on that block. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and assemble. Oh, actually I should go ahead and stamp. I am looking for this. I had a little strip cut to stamp my Merry Christmas on. And felt like I might have moved. Nope, I did okay. Yay! I am going to close this just for a minute. When I do the inside, I'll need this for a few more berries. Let me go ahead and cut that like that. I'm going to make a little snip in the center, cut a little banner. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I actually think this one was a little bit deep, so I'm going to trim just a hair. All right, make my snip in the center. I'm trying to remember, so my next YouTube demonstration, trying to remember if that is when my catalog or my calendar's covered up. One of these I will, coming up weeks, I'm going to start doing a little series on making a gift box of cards. So you might make a little set of cards that you could give as a gift. And that way you could maybe use some of what you've got on hand, some of your stash, and create a little match set. So I will be going over that with you. Okay, get a few things positioned here. Here's my card base. I am going to adhere my embossed musical notes down. I'm going to use my multi-purpose adhesive. This piece was 4 by 5 1/4 before I embossed it. Make sure I'm opening the right direction. And I'm a little bit to one side here, so, oops, slide, slide. Come on, there we go. So part of what is throwing me off here is it looks like when I burnished it, I wasn't completely straight. So just giving that a nice little push. And I'm going to see if I can fix. Okay. So next I am going to adhere the designer series paper to the matte layer. My matte layer is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. My designer series paper is 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. And I'm going to adhere that with my multi-purpose adhesive. So it's just enough to leave a little pop of color around the edge. It really lifts the designer series paper when you're able to do that. Doesn't, not every card needs it. But sometimes it's nice. Turn that over, give it a little squish. Gonna put some dimensionals on the back here. This is one of the things that I feel the most clumsy doing right now. Actually, everything feels clumsy, but that's all right. I'm still here, I'm still here. Can't get a good woman down. Nope. Almost. There we go. Make sure this is opening. the right way. It is. I am going to center that. That is good enough. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of my wreath. One in the center. I use a lot of dimensionals. I don't like anything to collapse when I mail it. I mean, how heartbreaking would that be? I spend time making something for somebody, and to find out that maybe it looked like crumb when it arrived was just not an attractive thought to me. Let's see. I believe this was how I was going to orient it. And I'm going to bring it down just a little bit from my last one. There we are. Two more dimensionals on the back of my Merry Christmas. Yes, I'm a dimensional fiend. I love them. And again, I love it when that little banner is hanging over the edge. Now I am going to use my red rhinestone basic jewels, and I'm going to put them right over the top of those stamped berries. So basically the stamp makes each one of these just slightly larger. My husband and I are going to be in Chelan, Washington for 5 days. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be there with many of our friends. Some of our friends aren't going to be able to make it because they are not well right now. And our hearts and prayers are with them. And we have some other friends that aren't going to be there as well. But we get it. We understand, and we know that we're going to see them all again soon. All right, now I'm going to tie a bow. We're very close to done. I just need to put a bow on the front and then stamp the message liner for the inside. So I'm using my bow maker. I'm going to cut my ends. So my friend Ron is actually a friend of ours through boat racing. He uses his 3D printer to make these bow makers. And I do have some in stock. If you would like to purchase one, just send me a message to stampwithteah@gmail.com. and I can get you hooked up. And I think I need to tighten that knot just a little bit more. Into there we go. Now a nice little mini glue dot on the back of that bow. These are strong. And stick that bow right there. So now I am done with the front. It actually looks like this one side got a little bit, just a little bit long. There There we go. All right, let's stamp the inside. And I actually think that that green was a good call. Look at it, just lifted that a little bit, didn't it? This is just the solid red. There's with the green. You'll have to let me know which one you like better. Okay, so now I am going to stamp some fir branches and maybe some berries on the inside. I would do holly and berries, but I didn't use any holly on the front of the card, and so I'm not going to do that. So I am going to try to create a little ooh, I'm not sure I'm going to like that. I'm going to flip that over and start again. And so I might just do what I did with the leaves and just create, oh, I went right off the edge. I'm going to live with it. I'm going to make myself be happy with that. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. And I purposefully am going off the edge again to emulate what I did here, and that way it looks less like a mistake. I'm not going to use the berries because originally I was thinking I would create a little fanned out arrangement and then use the berries in the center, but I should have realized that wasn't going to work. So, looking for ink on my hands. Going to put some adhesive on the back. Now, these wreaths would look beautiful if you were to make like a tag that you wanted to put on a gift or a gift bag or a box. Here we go. So here's our two. Here are these cards. Here are these cards. I hope you like them. I do have one sample from when I did my catalog launch party. And here I've used those other dies. Those ones that stack on top of each other, and they are detail dies. And then the bow, you see that? I've cut out two of that detail die bow. I'll show it to you. Right here. And I only adhered it in the center, and I cut off the ties on one of the bows. And that's how I got that dimensional bow. You can see I used that wood, the timber 3D embossing folder. Here's part of that Gingham Cottage paper again. Oh, here I used the bows on the inside. That would have been a good choice in here as well. So that was one sample I had. I did want to mention that if you didn't want to cut your card bases and such, and you wanted something a little bit quicker, we do sell, Stampin' Up! Does sell note cards in the craft paper or in white with matching envelopes. So you buy them as a set. I believe there's 20 in each pack. I know there is of the craft. I forgot to double check on the white. Anyway, that would be a super quick and easy way to, if you needed to make Christmas cards or any kind of cards for that matter. So just wanted to share that with you. Friends, I'm so glad that you joined me today. I really hope that you enjoyed the techniques that I showed you to create these wreaths. Have a wonderful day. I am grateful for the time that you have spent with me, and big hugs.